Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Justin here, and I know it's been a while. God, I don't know, since the last time I ever reviewed a Japanese drama. And what's this drama that I'm going to review? Well, if you read the title, then obviously I am reviewing the Netflix Japanese drama, First Love Hatsukoi, which is, of course, notably credited to be inspired by the hit songs by Hikaru Utada. So, naturally, both songs are featured in the drama, and it uses the inspiration to tell the story of two former teenage lovers, the boy Haremichi and the girl Yae. And they first meet in high school towards the end of the 1990s, and both Yae and Haremichi, they're from working class backgrounds. And Yae, she comes from a single family household. Her father's still around, but eventually the drama will reveal why her father isn't physically present in her life, even though he does support her. And then, of course, Haremichi, he comes from a very loving family. He has both parents, his grandparents, and his sister, who is hard of hearing, but that is explored a little later within the drama. So, Yae, she's a hardworking student. She gets straight A's. She's like the most popular girl in school, and pretty much every day, guys try to ask her out on the rooftop at the school, and Haremichi's always, hiding somewhere on top of the door, just smoking and just getting a laugh of Yae turning down all these guys. And of course, naturally, Haremichi, who is the class clown, just eventually also has a crush on her and just manages to successfully ask her out. And then they have this relationship that pretty much lasts until high school, and within she goes to college, and then he joins the JSDF to become a pilot. And during one of Haremichi's leaves, he visits Yae in Tokyo, where, just to catch up, and she sees that her friends, they look down on him, and he doesn't seem to like them, and because of how he reacts to her friends, they get into a fight, and then circumstances after that leads Yae to lose her memory. And then Haremichi, at the discouragement of Yae's mother, can no longer see her, and they both move on with their lives. And pretty much 15 years later or so, they reunite in their hometown of Hokkaido, where Yae, she is now a cab driver, and Haremichi, who is now out of the JSDF, is working as a security guard at some building. And of course, Yae, she is now divorced and has a teenage son who wants to become a music producer, and he has a fascination with this young lady who does performance dancing on Instagram. And thanks to Haremichi, her son manages to meet this young lady, and they form a unique friendship of their own, which also serves as its own unique plot. Okay, so that's it for the story, but yes, so as adults, Haremichi is played by Takeru Sato, as you may know, as the main character in Rurouni Kenshin, Himura himself, and of course he had his breakout role as Ryotaro in Kamen Rider Den-O. And his younger counterpart is played by Taisei Kido. And then Yae, the adult version of her, is played by Hikari Mitsushima. She's been a famous actress for the last 10 years, but prior to becoming an actress, she was part of an idol group called Folder 5, who you may know as the group that sung Believe, the second opening theme to the One Piece anime. And her younger counterpart is played by Rikako Yagi. And both versions of these characters, they all both have their own unique chemistries that carry on throughout the story. I know this is just shit picking, but since I'm already familiar with how Takeru Sato and Hikaru Mitsushima were teenage entertainers, the actors who played the teenage counterparts, it's like, okay, I know what these actors look like as teenagers, and when I look at the actors who are playing them as teenagers, like, okay, you don't exactly have me convinced, but that's just me shitpicking. But at the same time, it doesn't take away from their performance and their chemistries. I really love how you see between both performances, you really see how Harumichi matures as a man from just being this prankster to becoming this guy who honorably serves his country. And then Yae, who has these big dreams, but they become crushed, and then she's just working as a cab driver, which she does take pride in, but she's divorced, and you do see how she's trying to rebuild her life in her own way. And then as, what was his name again? Harumichi and Yae reunite again, you do see them try to rebuild their relationships, despite Yae still having no memory of Harumichi. And of course, Harumichi, on the other hand, even though he's already engaged to another woman he met while working the GSDF, he still hasn't gotten over Yae. If you haven't seen the show and you're just, this is your first exposure to the show, you're going to think about, okay, this sounds weird. But once you watch the show, you understand why Harumichi has a hard time getting over Yae. Of course, as you watch the drama at first, you're going to think, oh man, buddy, just get over her. But once you learn the more and why he ends up that was, okay, I understand why he feels that way. And then eventually, as the more his character fleshes out, the more you come to understand why he feels the way that he does. And you really appreciate that about him. And Takeru Sato's acting and portraying that maturity to him just really strikes a really, really relatable chord with you. But yes, considering I'm the same age as Yae and Harumichi, this drama is very, very relatable to just about for every reason you can think of here and there, except I never had this girlfriend in high school that I carried on till college. She lost her memory, and then, I never got over her. No, never experienced that, but, I know what it's like to experience, hey, you fall in love with this girl, and you kind of think about what if, and then you try this sort of long distance relationship thing, then you grow apart because it's just not going to work out that way. But then you kind of think about hey, what if this relationship did work out? Where would we be right now? And here I am now, married and with a child of my own. And do I still have feelings for this girl that I met years and years ago? I would like to say that I do, but I would like to say hey, we did have some good times. I can't deny that, but at the end of the day, I have come to terms with, hey, this is where my life is. And at the same time, I understand culturally where these characters are, especially in their teenagehood and how they connect to through Hikaru Utada's song "First Love." And speaking of Hikaru Utada, I'm not sure if this is what you would qualify as a spoiler alert, but as much as I hate to say, the only major problem I have with this show is, correct me if I'm wrong, but she does not have a cameo in this show. And I think she should have at least been given a cameo. Maybe it was considered, maybe it was not, but I just do think she could have had a cameo. Take for example, while Harumichi and Yae are still teenagers, they go to one of her concerts. I think that would have been a very nice touch. Or, I don't know, they do something else with that character. Or with that singer, I'm sorry. And also, speaking of which, I'm kind of also, I understand why they couldn't do this, but I think they could have also mentioned the other J-drama, Majino Joken, because First Love happened to have been the theme song of that respective drama. But considering how Japanese copyright bitch is as big as a bitch as Amber Heard, I can understand why. And lastly, I think if I were allowed to write the show, or if I were the producer, like, okay, maybe I would have somehow factored in Folder 5 into the high school scenes, where it's like, hey, have you heard of this group called Folder 5? You know, just to sort of get a cameo of the teenage Hikari Mitsushima into it. Oh yeah, and speaking of which, this is also not the first time that Hikari Mitsushima and Takeru Sato ever worked together. As it turns out, now that I remember, Hikari Mitsushima actually happened to have been featured in a couple of episodes of Kamen Rider Den herself, and I believe they've also co-starred in some other dramas and movies together. So, considering that they do have experience in working together, the chemistry just works in both ways. You know, as them as adults and them as teenagers with their respective cast members. Also, I also really enjoy the inclusion of Kyoko Koizumi as Yai's mother. And I also, maybe semi-spoiler alert, there is a picture of her in her youth, which I do appreciate, considering I'm also a big fan of her. But yes, since I was already a fan of the cast and already a fan of Hikaru Utada, and I understand what these characters go through, this drama instantly clicked for me. And that is pretty much why I personally recommend it.